Right, you can put them off for as long as you would like, but unfortunately there is no escaping a difficult conversation. They hang around in your mind until you actually say them out loud. You might want to tell your employee, for instance, that you are not happy with their work, or your partner is no longer working, or your neighbour that you hate them, or maybe that your name is something different to what people have been calling you, like Bridget, when she told us she was actually Brigitte after weeks and weeks of working here. Whatever it is, before you take on that dreaded chat, our relationship expert, Jill Goldson, is here to tell us exactly how we can do it. Jill, good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
So we've been running a poll on paulhenry.co.nz this morning. How do you deal with difficult conversations? Get straight in there, plan it through first, avoid them at all cost. Here are the results. And I was surprised. 22% of people that responded said that they just go straight in to a difficult conversation. 58%, they plan it through first. 20% avoid them at all cost. Do you know, I'd fit into the 20%.
Yes, I think most people do avoid it at all cost if they possibly can. A whopping great 80% of people won't have difficult conversations because they're scared of angry emotions coming out. But of course, the problem is if you don't have your difficult conversation, it keeps compounding in your mind, the stuff that keeps you awake at night.
So is it true that difficult conversation gets harder and harder and harder to have the more you put it off?
It gets harder and harder, and of course the other thing that can happen, it will suddenly erupt at an inappropriate moment. So, yep, you're absolutely right.
Are there any difficult conversations that are like categories of difficult conversation that are harder than any others?
Well, I suppose the all or nothing difficult conversations are the hard ones. So, for example, if one person is wanting to end a relationship, it's very difficult to find a midway ground for that.
So conversations that result in no negotiation, this is the deal.
Yes, the sort of all or nothing conversations. But most difficult conversations can end up strategically with win-win. There's no point in shuffling the cards. You need to create new cards. So your difficult conversations in employment or with family disputes, usually you can find a midway ground if you plan your conversation.
Okay. So what is your message to people who are listening to us, who are watching us now, who know that they've got maybe multiple difficult conversations that have been wandering around in their head for a while?
Yeah.
Is the message just sit down, work it out and do it?
Pretty much sit down, work it out. Be very clear about what your message is and choose your place, choose your time to have it.
Okay, so these are the tips. If you're going to have this difficult conversation, you are initiating it. Tip 1, clarity about the issue.
Be very clear, use the I word, it's your issue. Tell them what the problem is for you, but don't blame. Give people time to listen to you and to respond to you.
Right. Okay. Use the I word is interesting. So this is how I feel.
This is my feeling. This is my problem. The you word is a bit like pointing a gun at someone. So I've got a problem, not you are always wrong, you are always lazy.
So I've got a problem with you because you are horrible. That sort of thing.
Not exactly, no.
But more or less.
No,
more or less.
We could talk some more about that.
Okay. You say pick appropriate time and place. I mean, that speaks for itself, I suppose, because some difficult conversations are just going to be made worse if you pick the wrong time.
Yes, and often people pick the wrong time because they haven't decided to have the conversation and it all blows up over the dishes after a family dinner party when it would have been far better to have had it at a calm place.
Now, one of your tips for initiating this is strategies for solution. And this flies in the face of don't plan it first. Because, of course, if you just launch yourself into a difficult conversation, chances are you haven't even thought through what the strategies might be.
It's a very good idea to work it out first.
So you're saying this is my problem, the problem I have, and this is how I think we should deal with it.
This is the problem I have. What do you think? Can we now find a way to work towards a goal which is far more win-win?
Okay, so what do you do if if all of a sudden you find you're at the receiving end of someone else's difficult conversation?
Breathe. Listen carefully, ask for clarification, and if you need to, say, look, can we just hold this conversation now and come back to it, perhaps tomorrow or next week? These are very high-level principles, of course, but they do work. So
just breathe, because all of a sudden you realise that you're involved in something that you hadn't been anticipating. When you say request clarification, I'm sorry, could you just tell me what you're saying again?
Well, can you explain what you mean?
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling really attacked by that. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. Could you explain what you mean by that? And now you've explained it. Do you know what? I'd just like some time to think about this and come back and talk to you a bit later.
That's good. I like it. And then you can also come up with strategies for a solution.
Yeah,
How about we try never seeing each other again?
Well, all of that.
Yeah. Yes. That's brilliant, Jill. Thank you very much. But the big recommendation here is do not hold it in.
Don't hold it in. It's bad.
Jill, thank you. That's
Okay,
Jill
you're
Goldson,
welcome.
relationships expert. It's easy for the experts, isn't it? But I've got stuff held in here. I'm sorry, but I just have. I just cannot bring myself to even look Hillary straight in the face and tell her these things.